Hey, I'm Chris Cuomo. Thank you for joining me here on NewsNation. If you've been watching our coverage, I have a completely different take than what you've just been hearing. I bring you good news. I have two pieces of affirmation that this election does not have to be a battle to the bottom of which side scares people more. And these are not feelings. They are facts. First, people who don't usually make their witness are indicating this time may be different. By making their witness, I'm giving you a metaphor for what? Voting, exercising the franchise. Polls. Polls we're shy on, good, because they only tell us who people say in a given moment they may vote for, right? That's why the only poll that really matters is when? On Election Day. However, the number of people who take action on intentions, what does that mean? Those who register to vote and where they're doing it and who they are, these are stronger indicators. Listen to this. A recent analysis found the week Biden dropped out of the race. Now, I break it like that because I want you to focus on that part. The week he dropped out of the race. And remember that week. We were told, this is it, he's out, he's out, he's out. It's going to be Harris. They can't overlook a sitting VP, let alone a black female, not in the Democratic Party. What happens that week? A huge surge of voter registration. How huge? You're not going to believe the numbers. But just as important, who? Compared to the same time in 2020, 13 states, including battlegrounds of Michigan and North Carolina, young black women up 176%. Young Latina registration, 150%. 176, that's almost 3 times. Voter registration among all black women, up almost 100%. That means double. Among black Americans, up 86%. Among young women in general, regardless of race, 84%. These are all obviously overperforming. Raises the question. Well, 2 questions. Why that week? Like I said, the suggestion is that Biden was blunting enthusiasm of the people in those demographics, in those places. And when word came down of his stepping down, you saw what I just showed you. The second point is a sign that the majority of us, specifically people like you and me, all right, drawn to NewsNation, getting past left and right and back to reasonable. The good news, we are not part of the problem of division. The political division is largely manufactured and largely representative of the fringes, not us, not the majority. Proof of concept? Good. Always ask for proof, okay? The fastest growing part of the electorate, as I've told you many times, now a plurality, not a majority, but a plurality, 43% declaring themselves as independent of the parties, okay? And within that, we see a schism, okay? Those who want to be in parties, those who don't. And the schism presents us with a paradox, and here it is. 81% of us feel more divided than united. That's sad. But nearly 7 in 10 of us think Americans want the same things in life. How can those two things be true? Because while we all, 81%, see what's being put on us by the political game, relentless division as a byproduct of constant negative messaging about the other side, we all see it, we all feel it, that gets you the 81%. But we also know the deeper truth, that there is much more that connects us in America than that which divides us, no matter how hard they try to emphasize the division. We see how this happens. During elections, candidates, parties, what do? They hone in on issues that don't necessarily reflect our most urgent concerns. They pick issues that separate them from their opponents. Hence the culture wars, hence dueling investigations of which party's players are worse. These efforts pay off, but mostly with the most ardent partisans, the fringe. And this must be the case, because we see in the same data that outside the edgy edges, the rest of us are mostly 50-50 propositions on issues, and I'll explain why that is. Let's look at the for instances in the data. Gun ownership does more to increase safety in the United States. Harris supporters, no way. Trump supporters, all day. The rest of us, all of us taken together, 50-50. Why? I'll explain in a second. The criminal justice system isn't tough enough on criminals. Harris supporters, not even 40%. Trump supporters, over 80. All of us, 61, right? More so than not, but, right, still kind of equivocal. America's openness to people from all over the world is essential to whom we are as a nation. Harris, 88%. Trump, no way, 34%. All of us, 6 out of 10. White people benefit from advantages black people do not have. Harris supporters, 82. Trump supporters, 18. It's a shocker to me. I didn't think it would be that deep. All voters, 50-50. Now, why? Why does it seem that, taken as a whole, we're 50-50? We don't know our minds? No, the opposite is that it all matters to critical thinkers like you. This is no litmus test. You can't just give me a snap judgment. You gotta know how. Why? Give me context. What kinds of Second Amendment application? What kinds of roles in the world? What kinds of advantages are we talking about? What would we do about it? That's critical thinking. And that's why, in the main, we are open, 50-50 propositions. As much as the players and the parties want us to see each other as the enemy, more of us agree than disagree on what matters. For instance, people having access to IVF is a good thing. That's the proposition. Harris, 84. Trump, 65. All voters, 73. We agree, and that's a big thing because it is a reproductive right extension question. I wouldn't have asked it this way, but that's what Pew Research did. Do reproductive rights matter? You're going to see big numbers when you blend us all together. Why? Because on the whole, we know that you don't take a right from a class of people, let alone 52% of the population. A strong U.S. military makes the world more safe. Harris supporters, 68. Trump, 83. All of us, 75. Consensus. It's extremely, very important the U.S. takes active role in world affairs. Harris, 71. Trump, 53. All of us, 60. But then there's one last point, and this one hurts me to say. I wish it weren't true, but maybe it needs to be. Maybe it needs to be. And I can't blame this on MAGA or radical fringe political minorities. There is an overwhelming reality that all of us feel in this country. And here's the proposition. The country can't solve many important problems. Over 50% of Harris supporters, over 50% of Trump supporters, and over 50% of us overall. And that is a reality, and it is shameful. For us to not believe that government is trying to work on solutions is a sad reality, and you know why? It's true. There is zero hype in that. They have lost our confidence. Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.